All right, here we go. This is what we've been waiting for. It's a shame that we had to get it on a zombie promotion in a, low budget pay-per-view, but here we are for the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championship, Mark and Jay Briscoe against FTR. And this was what everybody wanted to see. And this was obviously, if there was any doubt about that, nobody followed it after this was over with. It was an hour into the show. They put this match on, and I don't have any idea what their thinking was, because why did they think that anything could come after this? Especially any of these matches. But
their thinking was probably their world championship should come last, and I guess the TV and pure title will come after the tag team title.
And then the title of dog catcher could come after that. Jesus Christ. I understand world championship going on last. Anything else, when you're putting these other matches that nobody gave a shit about on after the one that everybody came to see, you're just killing those guys. You're just making their job harder. People had asked me on a couple of emails and several tweets the past week or so, how would I have set this match up? How would I have laid it out? How would I have started it? How would I finish it? How would it flow? Whatever. And my answer is, I don't have any idea. Because, honestly, part of it was beyond anybody's control, but I wouldn't have been in this position or allowed myself to be in this position with any talent that I was booking. But this match was insanely unique in that every fan wanted to see it. People were calling for it, wanted to see it before it was booked. Everybody was excited when it was booked. With, I can't even say no build. There was a little build, but it was all done by the talent, none by any of the promotions. And it was probably the most horrible build to a match that people wanted to see that I've ever seen in the wrestling business. You got two promotions, but one of them is dead. And you got two TV shows, but one of them hasn't produced new content in 3 months. The other one of the teams is not allowed on because one of the executives is a big fucking pussy and got his head up his ass and his panties in a twist about people tweeting. So you can't have one team on one show and you can't have the other team on the other show because there is no show. The babyface and heel dynamic is completely fucked up here because FTR have bounced around from babyface to heel in their presentation and who they're wrestling since they debuted in AEW. The Briscoes would be the babyfaces because they're the home team for Ring of Honor and they've been there since day one. But at the same time, FTR's best utilization is when they're the heels and are running the fucking match. They didn't do any angles for this past shoving and scuffling at Final Battle because it was a rush job. And then they've just talked about each other on Twitter and social media with no help from the actual promotion that's putting the show on. And it still stole the show. Tell me another time that has ever happened in the history of wrestling. So I wouldn't know how to, I wouldn't have known how to put it together because that's such a unique situation that I'm gobsmacked that it's actually come and happened like that, taken place like that. But your job, my job, Tony's job, anybody's job as a promoter or a booker is to take a match that the fans already want to see and give it the biggest build-up possible. And these guys, the talent did all the work. Nothing was promoted here. So that's why I didn't know whether to, you don't know how to lay the match out. To who's the babyface and who's the heel? What has gone on between? Who has the rawest emotions? Are the baby faces feeling put upon? So when the heels are in the ring, the baby faces are going to come from the the back and jump them from behind and jump start it and they have a big brawl? Or are they going to come in the ring and start slow and have a classic matchup, which is kind of what they did? Or are they, what frame of mind is each participant in? You couldn't really go by it. So they just had to, in a cold vacuum environment, start out and have the match that they wanted to put together, which turned out to be fabulous, but with no help from the promotion on what the people would want to see ahead of time. So, having said that, on the entrance of FTR, the fans woke up. And then here come the Briscoes, and they can sell tickets the way they look alone. They look out of control, and that's what you need in wrestling. The rest of these fucking sissy-ass pussies that wouldn't spit on the sidewalk or double park are just fucking... There's no... Undertaker said it in that interview, not his Hall of Fame. There's no men anymore. These guys are all four able to kick somebody's ass if they're let loose, and they were. And the holy shit chant broke out before the match started. And the Briscoes were baby faces to the crowd, and FTR somewhat played into that by refusing a handshake, but they've been pretty much sabotaged now, FTR, with the back and forth turns, babyface, heel, manager, no manager. But again, from the start, from the lockups, the chants, tag team wrestling, Dax came out of the head scissors, spit in Jay Briscoe's face. It got a huge pop. They worked the people. They worked the audience. They brought them into what they were doing. They didn't just go do a routine it's like you're watching it through a fucking window where you're not connected to it. You're not involved in it. They got some heat on Jay. Jay came back. Mark took over on Cash. All their shit looked good. The chop battles. The commentary added to it. Mark with the Cactus Jack elbow. They had a fight on the floor that was called for. Everybody lost their goddamn composure. And they busted Jay Briscoe open with a boomerang under the bottom of the table. That was an interesting way to use furniture. And Jay's bleeding and they're getting the heat on him. If wrestling was still like this, I'd still want to be in it. Suddenly, we went back 30 years to when this shit was palatable and watchable. And it can be done. So then they got some pretty vicious heat on Jay, but he got the hot tag to Mark, and Mark made a big comeback. And they hit Redneck Boogie and got a 2 count. And then FTR came back. Dax with the slingshot powerbomb. Cash with the splash off the top. 2 count. Huge pop. ROH chant. Dax is bleeding now. The Briscoes foiled the big rig and hit their own for a 2 count. Everybody's selling. They took a couple of big floor bumps, but just one for each guy. And finally, Jay vertical suplexes Dax off the apron to the floor, and that was a bit much. But then everybody laid there and sold to the point the doctors had to come and check on him. And Mark's bleeding. And the referee starts the count, and everybody slowly rolls in and barely stands up. And they go into the double 1-2s in the middle of the ring. And it just... They kept building and building, and the people are freaking out. And again, Jay hits a neck breaker. Mark hits a froggy bow, 2 count. And finally, the Briscoes went for the doomsday device. They could barely pick Dax up, but they got him, and suddenly Dax rolled forward, and Mark missed, and then they hit the big rig on Mark, 1, 2, 3. And yes, this was changing another Ring of Honor title and beating 2 more Ring of Honor icons, but nobody could argue with it. This was the best tag team match that's taken place in any promotion that we've seen in how long? Years? Would it be years now?
It's been a while. I'd have to stop and think about the last match of this caliber, but let me just say right here, what a fantastic match. Loved it. It looked like a fight. It looked like a struggle. If you just watch the wide camera shot and you see the blood on the ring, you see Dax, you see the Briscoes, they don't just look bloody, they look dirty.
Yeah.
It's been a grueling fight. This was fantastic. And, we'll talk about the angle, I guess, in a moment, but I felt bad actually for any wrestler that had to follow this because the crowd was there for this. And even if they weren't, the match was so good, it would have ruined the rest of the show for any wrestler following it, more than likely.
And I mean, it's not like you couldn't see that coming a mile away. That's why when I saw an hour into a 3-hour show and this match is going in the ring, and they went 45 minutes. They needed the time. But at the very least, this should have been next to last. Go to some interviews and some packages to let the people take a piss and calm down. And then bring the world title match in and let them start off slow. It still wouldn't have followed it, but it wouldn't have buried the other matches.
And one other thing I'll say, because I haven't watched one of their matches in a while, because I've never kept up a Ring of Honor. I've had some bad feelings about some people in Ring of Honor for a while, but from the moment they come out, and I'm curious, a lot of the people who really haven't been exposed to them, what they will end up thinking. Boy, the Briscoes are fucking stars.
Oh, yeah, that's why I've been saying that for 15 fucking years.
Man, they feel real, and they're unique, and they're crazy, and I wish there were still people making compilation tapes, and I could just get a compilation of all the FTR matches I really like, because I'd like to watch this match over and over again. Really, really good.
And also, to be quite honest with you, you ought to get a compilation of the Briscoes, too, because then think about this. They're in their late 30s. They're the same age. I know they look a little rough. They're the same age as the Hardy Boys. So they've still got some mileage, and they actually have talent. And we'll get to that in a second. New Ring of Honor champion, standing ovation for the match from the crowd for both teams. They go for the handshake, and FTR stops and does the "we're not worthy" bow. And they get hugs all around, so apparently this will not continue because they've hugged each other now. So we got it once, we'll apparently not get it again. Best tag team match we've seen in years. The people are chanting, "Thank you, Briscoes." And suddenly, I was like you. I was going to save this on the DVR because I thought I'm going to want to go back and watch this some more. I almost don't want to now. They made it just to the finish line, and here comes the Hardy Boys in to fuck it up. Now, again, we're exposed to school children playing wrestler after what we've just seen with these 4 men. And they come in and get on the Briscoes and do their super kicks, and maybe they might have done one of those stupid little knee lifts or whatever. And FTR come out and make the save and cut a promo and challenge them. They already announced the match is going to take place next Wednesday on Dynamite. Now it'll be for the Ring of Honor Tag Team title. But they challenge them right there, but the Hardy Boys refuse. After ruining what was almost a perfect, flawless segment, they show up. Now I'm afraid that just because I'm sure they can sell to Tony Khan, "Oh, Tony, imagine how much heat it would get if we won the Ring of Honor tag team titles from FTR. Those fans would really be mad." Now, they'd be disgusted is what they'd be. There's a difference between ticket selling heat and disgusting heat. Nobody wants to see these 2 little fucking pricks either beating up the Briscoes or beat FTR again. Now, if they'll give them their win back they should have given to begin with, I'll sit through this fucking match. But otherwise, again now, with the kids and FTR, and I don't see how this is going to turn out any different because the Hardy Boys are too smart-ass to want to do what's right for business when they can get even with the Briscoes because they were in Ring of Honor with the Briscoes, and I'm sure they felt underutilized because there's the Briscoes, the best tag team in wrestling. And then they come into, they're in AEW, and here comes FTR, and they say, "Oh, they're too good. We got to bury them." So how do you think that old Matt and Nick Hardy felt when they sat there and saw these two teams do something in that match that they are completely physically incapable of doing? How do you think that sits with them when they think that their little Lollipop Guild group calls them the greatest tag team in wrestling, and they're sitting there watching two other teams so far above their heads they can't even fucking see them? So they're going to have to do something to get even.
I think they sit there and they always say, what would Shawn Michaels do? Because that's what I feel like with FTR.
No, Shawn Michaels drew money.
Hey, but in terms of how you handled yourself at different points, if there is a match 2, and match 2 makes you think there's going to be a match 3. If there's a match 2 and FTR lose again with the promise they'll win the third one, that's Shawn Michaels. Don't go with that promise. And then if FTR is defeating the Young Bucks there, they deserve the win back, but also what are we doing with FTR? The Young Bucks are in this feud of sorts in the comedy section of the show with the Undisputed Era, who have stolen belts. Now the Young Bucks have stolen belts. That's what I fear. They're going to beat FTR to bring all the belts together because they want some pictures of themselves holding all these belts.
Well, there you have, and you know, hey, Hardly Boys, call Paint Your Life. Take it easy on the if you just want a picture with all the belts so you can sit and fondle your gonads and look at them, just call Paint Your Life. Don't take it out on the wrestling fans and the quality wrestlers. Anyway, closing thoughts on this match. I wish we were going to see a bunch more of them. Obviously, that's not going to happen, or elsewise everybody wouldn't have hugged and kissed at the end of it. But they set a nice standard there. Again, the WWE should see that and go put the Briscoes in counseling for something so they can be all contrite and apologize and put them on national television. Cannot somebody have a goddamn bit of logic, common sense, and gumption to reward the real talent instead of the people who don't hurt anybody's feelings and suck on our television? Your thoughts, closing thoughts.
Fantastic match. Like you, sad if it means we don't see another Briscoes FTR. But as WWE Hall of Famer and motivational speaker The Undertaker said, never say never. Anything could happen in the WWE, or in this case, something else that Tony Khan owns. Really great match. I think, and maybe I'm wrong, it's certainly right with a segment of the audience, but I think it's a growing segment. I think the Young Bucks have gone from heels with some heat to really having a lot of go-away heat. And I feel like they're building upon go-away heat, not building heat. And
well, because Tony don't know the difference, does he?
I don't think they know the difference either.
No, they wouldn't. They've never been in the wrestling business.
But that's my 2 cents on the Bucks. When the Bucks came out, again, whatever you want to say about the Bucks, big success as headliners for Ring of Honor. This was their fan base for a while. This was the fan base that built AEW.
Well, no, because the Ring of Honor fans have turned on them because they know they're the ones that wrecked the company. They let all those jackoffs come in. They catered to them. They took over the program. They instituted all their comedy bullshit. And then when they left to take the billionaires' money, they took their little cult audience. And meantime, all the booking had been centered around all of them. So they left Ring of Honor high and dry with nothing going on, having to start from scratch.
The reaction they got when they came out, it wasn't, boo, the Bucks are heels. Certainly it wasn't, boo, they're real-life heels.
Like, it was, oh, they're going to fuck this up.
It was, God damn it, these guys are going to come out here and fuck this up. And, you know, that's where I think they're crossing that line and getting go-away heat, because I think it's happening in a lot of their segments, not just this fantastic match. Yeah, look, people are going to pop for the flips. This is an audience that comes to jump out of their seat for near falls. There are certain things they're going to react to. But I think the Bucks have more go-away heat right now than people realize or want to accept, but we'll see how this plays out.